Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a match that was played on the map that goes by the name of Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs, a very strange map, and we'll take a look across its many geothermal Latin wastelands here in just a second as we meet our red team leader spawning as an Armada commander here on the southern front line. It's a bit of a complicated one. Again, we'll talk about it in a second. It's Hussar. Hussar? I'm gonna go with Hussar because that sounds the nicest here. Our red team leader, hailing a 21 open skill with the silver tail and bronze chevrons to boot, gonna be showing us some good old-fashioned Armada gameplay. Gonna be going up right against, in the exact same mirrored spot here for the blue team, Desfox. Desfox hailing a 27 open skill and hailing with exactly the same chevron count here as well. Means that these two commanders should be roughly on the same page, which is always cool to see. There was two reasons why I chose this replay as I was combing through the many replays available on the Beyond All Reason official website. By the way, in case you're curious where I get a lot of the replays from, it's about a 50-50. Half of them I get from the replays channel of my own Discord, which of course is always linked down below in the description. And the other half is usually just directly from the website. And today's reason for why I chose this one is because I just didn't recognize hardly any of the names here. Now, it's no surprise that recently Bar has had an influx of players joining us from various different communities across the etherwebs, and I felt like it's appropriate, right, to welcome some of these newer players to Beyond All Reason in the only way that I know how, to go ahead and showcase some of their gameplay. So, maybe it won't be the best, maybe it won't be the most premier gameplay ever known to mankind, but it certainly should be entertaining, and it certainly should be a good learning opportunity. So, Sulphur Springs. As you may have noticed by the spawn position, Sulphur Springs is one of those maps that is a left-bottom spawn map. It's, how do I describe this? It's rotationally symmetrical? I think that's the name. Somebody put that in the comments one time. I asked what the different types of symmetry were called, and I think it's rotationally symmetrical. I could be wrong about that, though. But basically what it means, if I get a really high arc perspective right here, what it means, in fact, I'll pause this so we don't miss anything, is that the map is mirrored along this diagonal line, right? So more or less, that is the half line that these commanders are going to be vying for. It means that the red commander is going to be pushing into this middle section or up onto this high ground, usually into both. It's a very tricky decision to have to deal with. The brown commander is going to be fighting along this lane into the purple commander here. Cyan commander is going to be fighting for maroon along this lane right here in the kind of middle section of the map. And then there's these two big open areas here where Manta and, who was that there? Nomade, the tan and pink commanders are going to be going up against the Lucy Love Lucy green commander, as well as Zhang 336652-1. We'll go ahead and resume this game right here, as well as we meet also the King Max 009 in the back here. Going to be playing with the air commander 35SPK32757. My goodness, that sounds like a Star Wars reference. Why does that sound like a Star Wars reference? It's triggering Star Wars reference neurons in my brain, but I'm not sure entirely why. Grunts on the other side of the map will go ahead and clear my crude drawings, my crude NFL breakdown moment drawings. And yeah, we'll take a look at some of these grunts that are now headed across the map. We did have some ticks sent over as well to try and deal some damage. They've been pulled back though, and it looks like we're going to try and use them for defense. LLT has been set up here. Will it be sufficient? I want to say so. Yeah, LLT manages to blast down one of those grunts, and with the pawns coming out of the lab here, I think the defense will be stellar, yeah. Hussar, the red commander, doing a wonderful job of shutting all this aggression down and deflecting it quite nicely, losing minimal troops and managing to, yeah, keep things alive quite nicely. So that losing that mech is nice, but obviously it was up and running as well for a little while. Means that it basically offset its own cost by just existing and providing metal to the red commander here. All said and done, that is to say, basically neck and neck right now. Now this is nice from the brown commander, expanding very far forward, but this is also very risky. I mean, obviously one or two grunts moving forward to grab all these mechs and you're gonna be pretty much completely out of luck. There needs to be more units on the docket right now. Looks like the brown commander is unfamiliar with the kind of meta that is usually built here, so I'll go ahead and lay it out in plain terms. Essentially what you want to be going for is pawns early on. On maps where ticks can't really cross because of water streams, you want to go for mass pawns, sort of what Manta's doing over here. You can see a whole bunch of pawns to counteract the enemy's units early on, and then after that you go ahead and switch into either maces, rocketeers, most commonly rocketeers, or centurion if you're feeling extra spicy. Another learning point here. Boy, we're learning a whole lot today. When you build your wind turbines this close together, if 3 of them pop, they will chain react. Best practice is to go ahead and build your wind turbines. The keybinds I'm holding, by the way, are Shift and Alt. and drag a big square like this. Normally it'll be a square compacted like this. If you hit Z as in Zulu on your keyboard, it'll spread them out by 1. You can hit X as in exclamation point. Well, no, what's a good X? X is an X-ray, I guess. I don't know my phonetic alphabet behind me like I used to anymore, but anyways, Z and X to increase or decrease the spacing. If you increase them by 1 space like this, they won't chain react. It's a really important note in case you want to make sure that you keep them alive. I want to say the expansions are about even here, but the Red Commanders had those mexes up a little bit longer, means that over time going to trade a little bit more efficiently. MZX49 definitely very fortunate not to have been punished right here by Pibmeister, the purple commander. By the way, I gotta say, what happened to Pib? Why is Pib nowhere to be found? So there was a burger joint called The Habit. I believe it's an not an international, I believe it's a US, I believe it's a national US chain. I don't know how worldwide The Habit is, but anyways, The Habit used to be, I guess it would be Coke. It used to be Coke, which meant that it had Pib in it. Now they switched over to Pepsi, and it's the worst decision they've ever made. Yeah, it really is the worst thing that they've ever done. That restaurant has lost all my respect now that they no longer have Pib in their stores here. Certainly appreciate the name here. Yeah, Purple Commander. Boy, what a side tangent, huh? Navy battle, looking like it's gearing up for a little bit of action. We do have a frigate headed out on the map right here from Luca Wien, the 6 open skill 3 chevron American hero out on the high seas here, going to be floating that boat directly towards the Orange Commander Witness, hailing at 14 open skill and 2 chevrons. Frigate versus gunboat, that's going to go to the frigate every single day. Frigate versus 4 gunboats, that's a little bit more questionable. Nice micro right there. Hey, look at that. Orange Commander pulling back the injured units, loses one of them. That's some quality micro right there. I think Orange has a future here and beyond all reason. Definitely with that kind of micro, manages to bring down the frigate, and that's all very well and good. Hey, sniping that frigate is lovely. That's a couple hundred metal wiped right off the field right there from the blue commander, who is going to be forced to rebuild that frigate with no other option in the backline here. One of the things, if you tend to prefer the cast, right, the pro level cast, one of the things you'll notice, one of the things that I notice, and one of the things that I'm sure you're picking up on too, is just how much quicker the pros are to get into the aggression, right? Continually laying on the pressure as quickly as they can. There's basically no metal ever stored, it's all out on the field. And that's exactly what we're seeing here right here. So you can see the Brown Commander with a massive army, but not using it to engage the army of Pibmeister over here. Pibmeister doing a fabulous job of using these Rocketeers to push forward, but they are a little late to the battlefield. Again, these were standing idle over here on the northern side as well. It's one of those things that's easy to learn how to do, just get your units onto the field and get them engaged in a battle, but learning how to use them really efficiently, how to take trades more efficiently than your opponent, sometimes that can be a lot harder to learn. Hussar's Commander marching forward right here alongside a whole bunch of maces. An excellent little push right here. It's good, just good old-fashioned maces, but it's nothing too crazy, but it is enough to break through the line right here. I guess an overemphasis on those aggravators meant that the maces were enough armor to break through. With a little bit of repair micro here from the Red Commander as well, it does mean that these maces will stay in tip-top shape, ripping and roaring and ready to go again. T2 Constructor must be out and available here. It looks like the Blue Commander has been handed one. Ah, yeah, there it is. Gonna have to walk all the way from the back line. Hopefully we do see a transport lifting that off. Fox's Commander, meanwhile, threatening the southern side here, but not really going to be able to find much purchase. There's an LLT down here on the southern side, and those LLTs do defend against commanders quite nicely. For anybody who might not be aware, the LLTs it's one of the few matchups in this game where a unit does specifically more damage against another. And its LLTs do far, far more damage against commanders than anything else. Mesas here, continuing to trade out against the aggravators, not bad. Hussar making the very most of them. This is the kind of efficiency I love to see. So you can see essentially taking this 400 metal that we've got on the field remaining here and using it to the ever-living thinnest amount possible, right? We're trying to smear the value as thin as possible to cover an entirely uncontestable amount of area. And I think we've definitely done it. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we've denied 1, 2, and almost 3 metal extractors here. Certainly this metal extractor is denied, which would be nice to claim right here, but keeping it out of enemy hands is just as good. And there we go. Yeah, capture the metal extractor here. It just churns out metal over time. At 50 metal a pop, producing 2 metal per second, it only needs to stay alive for 25 seconds in order to pay for itself. Means that almost has this metal extractor already paid for its own existence here. Down it goes. Now it's a 2v1, and things get a little bit difficult. Fox cut off from his base right now in a tricky situation. Mesa's having a really, really hard time finding purchase against the thugs. Yeah, I like the transition here from the thugs. Managing to slowly whittle down these maces a little bit more. That commander on repair, though, is so nice. Yeah, that commander repair micro really keeping these maces in the game so much longer than normally they would be able to. There we go. Start catching the aggravator over here, as well as some more of those thugs. Continuing with the repairs here. Oh, but that commander's getting real low. Uh-oh, commander neglected for just a moment, and down it goes right there as the blue thugs blast away at it. Looks like the red commander wasn't paying attention for just a split second, and down goes the comm. That's a tragedy. Resbots were headed forward to go reclaim all this wreck. Now they're forced to abandon that entirely. We do have a gauntlet on the front line, actually double gauntlets on the front ine. All right, it's the good old-fashioned zero open skill strat here. You just go for gauntlets until you're in your enemy's main base. We do have a radar jammer, anti-radar tower right here. Denies any radar vision in a small area around. Actually, you can switch to the player view. That might give you a better idea. There you go. You can see that red circle. There's actually no radar vision in that red circle right there, which is quite nice, of course, for the blue team. It means that they have a nice contest over there. The Navy right now for the Orange Commander looking quite nice, actually. We do have, yeah, quite a few frigates here for Lukaween as well, so Navy game looking about even so far. About 3,600, maybe 3,700 metal there versus 3,100. So fairly even match. It's basically going to come down to who takes the fight more efficiently here. I will say that with those destroyers, you're going to be able to take more efficient fights because, of course, they can fire away from further range, right? They can outrange all the frigates over here. If you kite properly, if all is done properly, the destroyers do win this battle. It's a matter of getting them into position and getting them into the correct position, mind you. Looks like hounds are out of the battlefield. I want a quick close-up of these hounds because they are quickly becoming one of my favorite units. We played them on the live stream as of earlier today, and they were very, very fun to use. Switching between their Gauss and their heavy impact mode. That's a nice shot right there. Let me see here. Yeah, the heavy plasma and their Gauss cannon. Basically, you get 2 units in one with the hound is one of the reasons why those look so phenomenal. The reason is you essentially can use the Gauss mode to hit fast-moving targets, and then you can use the heavy impact mode to deal with static defenses. Means that you can basically use them for instance, besieging positions, and then as soon as the enemy pulls their units to try and deal with you, you just go ahead and pull them back, and you're going to be perfectly fine. Aggravators, Pounder, Brutes, all sorts of stuff stepping forward right here to blast down these LLTs. A costly trade right there when those Rocketeers would have blasted it down for free, but otherwise not the end of the world. The T2 transition is devastating. Yeah, the Red Commander now without any sort of a meaningful transition here. Looks like we're going to go into medium tanks here. I'm not so sure about that. That's a costly transition on the back of losing your commander and losing all those units on the front line here. I think maybe Hussar maybe overestimated their own advantage and suddenly found themselves in a really tricky situation. The fight here looks like it went pretty well for the Orange Commander. That's a lot of boats lying in ruin, but there's still 2 destroyers and a frigate and even a herring available right now for the Orange Commander Witness out in the high seas. A couple of frigates and a submarine available for Lukaween, the Powder Blue Commander. But all that metal, all that juicy, juicy metal is going back to the Orange Commander, and that's really the most important part. Nomade is the D silent. Maybe the D is silent. Maybe it's just Nomade. The Nomade, the tank commander here, pushing forward slowly with the aggravators, but I'd love to see a little bit more aggression, especially with superior numbers. And it really does feel like all of the action is on the southern side. Trashers here as anti-air bots, the light T1 anti-air, amphibious anti-air bots. Very, very good as far as anti-air goes, but certainly not going to be the pinnacle of anti-air defense. They're essentially any kind of bot-based anti-air is going to be quite bad compared to any vehicle anti-air or just static anti-air. But it gets the job done against that most thin of armor-plated shuriken right there. Tony 2 times going to be stepping forward right here. Hey, a nice D-gun right there. Connects with a couple of those units. Commander will boom and take out a couple of those hounds as well, leaving only 3 of them left to reinforce this composition. Is it going to be enough? I think it is. Medium tanks now struggling to deal with the influx of bots, now just pushing forward, walking casually into the night. And with tons of anti-air here as well, the gunships are unable to assist. Shurikens, even more importantly, unable to assist. Prioritizing taking down the anti-air would be the best move here because you have a teammate with Shuriken dying to help you out, but just can't while those anti-air bots are up and standing. So taking your units, right-clicking on those Yeah, those AA bots to make sure that they have a make sure that those AA bots are taken down before anything else. Means air support is going to be really, really useful. There you go. Gunships in the sky, blasting down whatever they can. Desfox's commander stepping forward here. Uh-oh. Criminally low on build power right now for the red commander, but also having a terrible, terrible metal shortage. There we go. Gunship in the air starting to... Oh, well, okay. There we go. Firing away at the commander. With two of them, we'll actually do some serious work. Yeah. Because they can trigger that flanking bonus and the LLTs are here as well, that commander goes down. Wow, well, look at that. A delicious 1,000 metal delivery directly onto the red player's doorstep. Suddenly, Husair desperately needs to get a whole bunch of, well, yeah, metal storage certainly is one thing. Resbot's eating up this metal before it even can be stored anywhere. Pretty ironic. So commander goes down to the blue player, hands them a nice cheeky 1,000 metal. Commander goes down to the red player, hands them back the 1,000 metal. Not the end of the world either way, but definitely funny watching that trade go back and forth like that. Frigates and a even Coral here, the floating heavy laser tower available. Again, destroyers more than capable of outranging these things. Means that there's not really any reason that this thing is ever going to be a good defense. Yep, down it goes, and just a couple of volleys from those heavy destroyers. There's Oppressor, the 960 metal destroyer from the Cortex faction. Very, very, well, oppressive indeed. At this point, Witness, despite maybe not knowing it, has thoroughly won the naval battle here. If you have as many destroyers as the enemy has frigates, you're generally speaking well ahead of them. Right now, Witness should be pushing for the win. A little bit of timidness, maybe unaware of what's on the other side of the map. Whoa, a T2 transition has been made. I didn't even notice it, but in the backline here, yeah, I guess that's what Lukaween's been spending the metal on. I wondered why there were so few boats on the field. Taking advantage of the timidness here of the orange commander and going on ahead up to a T2 economy here. Okay. It's a risky gambit because obviously if those boats had pushed forward at any point here, they would have been able to win the naval battle. But they didn't. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. What you can do versus what you do. That's really what tells the tale. MZX-49 not paying attention to the commander, and down it goes right there on the front line, assailed by a whole bunch of hounds as well as a bunch of maces. And there goes the purple commander as well. Everyone's commander falling here to the gunships that are apparently not willing to help with those maces, unfortunately. What a bummer. Medium tanks continuing to assault the southern side. Resbots reclaiming everything on the southern side here as well. T2 Lab is up and running, and we are starting to produce hounds, but more importantly, we're going to focus on those metal extractors. I think that's the right idea. We're a little low on energy, though. Yeah, maybe going for a couple advanced solar panels, a couple more advanced solar panels wouldn't be the end of the world here, but a couple wind turbines never hurt anybody either. At 5 wind speed, Armada is going to be all right, but Cortex is definitely going to be hurting. And it hurts to see these boats just sitting idle. Yeah, that's a whopping 11,000 metal versus 5,000 metal. So even now, if we push forward with these T1 boats, we would still win this fight. The longer this goes on, though, the more and more those T2 units are going to get more efficiency out of this here. Despots are insanely powerful, very, very efficient, especially if you kite properly with them. We have a T2 constructor upgrading the mexes, by the way. We do indeed, somewhere around here anyways. Yeah, it's under the seas there. Lukaween going for those upgraded mechs is going to be pumping out 7.2 metal per second, which is really quite nice. If your opponent's going to stay stagnant, you may as well take advantage of it, I suppose, is the lesson to be learned here. It's a gamble. It's certainly a gamble. But it's paying out nicely right now for the powder blue commander at the very least. The weird collision of forces right here. Bunch of Rocketeers running headfirst into a bull. They managed to bring it down, surprisingly. Bulls are extremely sturdy, so seeing a bull brought down by those T1 rocket bots is certainly impressive. Definitely more than their pay grade. You can see how much damage that bull does. 22% damage to a medium tank. And more to bots. The efficiency of the T2 vehicles is making up all the difference right here. Wow. The front line is broken, though. The yellow commander apparently more than willing to get aggressive right now. Sends the forces forward. The maroon commander discovering an opportunity path And the yellow commander Starlight. Oh yeah, Starlight. The yellow commander here managing to take well advantage of it. We've got welders in place to try and deflect some of this, but those heavy tanks have a lot of HP. They're extremely sturdy, getting into the backline and causing issues here. Geothermal was never taken also, which is a bit strange. Not sure why that Geo was never taken right now. But now the heavy tanks are in the backline. Without any answer here, I don't think the Banshees are going to be sufficient to clean all this up. The Bull tank trying its very best as well, but it's a heavy tank versus a heavy tank, and there's really only so much those tanks can do. They're also not being microed very well. Usually you want to spread them out so that they can take the most advantage of that surround bonus as possible. Maybe I ought to explain that. Since this is a learner's match, maybe I ought to explain how the surround bonus works. Effectively, if you're firing at a unit from multiple different angles, essentially the maximum flanking bonus would be from either side, right? So if you're on one side and then on the other, the way it works is that if the unit records the last angle that it took damage from, so right there that tank took damage from this front side, so if you hit it from the other side, the opposite side, it'll take almost double damage. It's really, really heavy. Tanks finding a lot of value here, at the very least forcing back the armies right now from the blue team. Loads of production coming out of the lab right now from the cyan green commander. The engagement has finally struck. Yep. Those despots are already out in twos. And yeah, I'm a little worried for the forces right here of the orange commander. Those despots trade out so efficiently, especially with their main Gauss cannons, but even their heavy lasers do some serious work as well. This many destroyers can beat the despots, but does Witness know that? And will they micro them appropriately in order to win that? Looks like maybe not. Then again, those despots also have no anti-submarine capabilities, so we could of course see the resbots eating up all this wreckage even if the boats all go down. Oh, there we go. So you can see those destroyers still doing a serious amount of damage. The despot does go down here almost instantly. The powder blue commander should have kited these backwards, and we definitely should have had some sort of radar detection, either an anti-nuke boat for vision/radar, or a bunch of spam boats or something in the front to give vision for these despots here as they get surrounded and will eventually be eaten by Witness. Nicely done right there by the orange commander. A little bit late on the draw, but better late than never. The tank commander looking to get aggressive over here on the side of the map as well. The tan and pink commanders both sending forces forward, leaking them through the center of the map. I'd love to see Khans marching forward to claim a whole bunch of this as well. Looks like there's a gunship bull over in the blue main base. All right. Flak turret goes down, so that's really the main thing scaring away these T2 gunships. Yeah, I guess I don't mind it. SAM turret trying desperately to shoot away at these things as well. All of them having a tough time, though. Yeah. More T2 heavy tanks rolling out. And on the front lines, the blue player is now facing a T2 army with a T1 army. Hounds have been given enough time to build up to a death ball right here. There they go, blasting away at everything that they can. The Fat Boy apparently going to be the primary target here. Some juicy connections coming out from that Fat Boy, but it will not be enough on its own. And now this base is in dire, dire straits. The economy right here for Evil Flame will be popped as the commander explodes in base right there, taking out the fusion reactor, blowing up the E-converters, damaging the lab, and eventually ruining any hope of building back into this game that the Cyan commander has. You can see horribly, horribly E-stalled at this point with 0 energy production. And if you ever see 0 energy production, it means that you also have 0 constructors. Constructors provide a tiny amount of energy production, so if you ever find yourself without any buildings whatsoever, technically speaking, you can use E-converters to get back into the game, just using a bunch of constructors. I've seen it before. I'm not kidding. I've seen it before. Constructor-based economies. They're strange, but they work. Here go the Hounds, blasting away at those LLTs quite nicely. T2 Lab in a lot of trouble here. King Max 009 calls the resign vote, as apparently the green player unwilling to stick in this match after losing all of the front lines here. Suddenly all these Hounds here not being distributed. What I'd love to see is taking these Hounds and handing them over to these commanders, right? So handing some of these Hounds over to the blue commander, handing some of these over to the Cyan commander, handing some of them over to the green commander. essentially, as the backline tech player, one of the most useful things you can do is just give your teammates units that they can use on their front lines. But it looks like the blue team unwilling to stay in the game. It's a little bit of a bummer. There was a lot of units on the field right there. I would have liked to see put to work, but it will not be the case. Definitely feels like a little bit of a morale victory right there from the red team, but certainly some sufficient gameplay to put them in the lead. Lovely, lovely learners match. I hope you picked up on a few things. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise just want to say hi. Always happy to meet new folks. We do live streams Tuesdays and Saturdays, 12 to 4 PDT, in case you wanted to stop by while we're doing things live. We usually play with some funky settings as well, so if you're looking for a more casual game, that's an excellent opportunity for it. And I sure hope that you enjoyed and have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out, everybody.